Breaking news from around your world on this Monday, February 4th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. After nearly 3 months of testimony about a vast drug-smuggling conspiracy steeped in violence, a jury begins deliberations Monday at the U.S. trial of the infamous Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, who faces life in prison if convicted. The jury's heard months of testimony about Guzman's rise to power as the head of the Sinaloa cartel. Prosecutors say he's responsible for smuggling at least 200 tons of cocaine into the United States and a wave of killings in turf wars with other cartels. The 61-year-old Guzman is notorious for escaping prison twice in Mexico. The defense claims Guzman's role has been exaggerated by cooperating witnesses who are seeking leniency in their own cases. Last week, newly unsealed court papers revealed disturbing allegations not heard by the jury that Guzman had sex with girls as young as 13. Guzman's attorney said their client denies the allegations. Pope Francis urged religious leaders Monday to work together to reject war as he opened the first ever papal visit to the Arabian Peninsula, the birthplace of Islam, with a strong denunciation of violence committed in God's name. In a keynote speech to an interfaith gathering in the United Arab Emirates, Francis warned that the future of humanity was at stake unless religions come together to resist the logic of armed power, the arming of borders, the raising of walls. Francis told Abu Dhabi's powerful crown prince and hundreds of imams, muftis, ministers, rabbis, and swamis, there is no alternative. We will either build the future together or there will not be a future. God is with those who seek peace. Francis's speech to the gathering of faith leaders was the highlight of his 40-hour visit to Abu Dhabi. His trip concludes Tuesday with the first papal mass on the Arabian Peninsula, a gathering expected to draw some 135,000 faithful in a never-before-seen display of public Christian worship there. A boatload of Haitian migrants sank over the weekend near the Bahamas and killed nearly 30 people. Authorities said the vessel went down near the Bahamian island of Abaco and at least 28 migrants aboard died. Officials said nearly 100 were on board. The U.S. Embassy in Haiti said Bahamian authorities rescued 17 survivors. Authorities began an investigation and search extending 6 miles off the Abaco coast with the help of the U.S. Coast Guard. Authorities said 12 more bodies were found in the vessel on the seabed. Bahamian officials think the vessel may have hit a reef, causing it to take on water and sink. The Defense Force said about 300 Haitians have been detained for illegal entry during 4 separate incidents this year. They were charged and returned to Haiti. Many Haitians are growing more desperate to escape economic turmoil on the island, where currency has been devalued and inflation is at 15%. British air accident investigators said on Monday they found the wreckage of a missing aircraft carrying Premier League soccer player Emiliano Sala on the seabed near Guernsey and that a body was visible inside. The 28-year-old Argentinian forward had been en route from Nantes in western France with pilot David Ibbotson to make his debut for Welsh team Cardiff City when the plane crashed into the sea January 21st. Salah had recently signed a $19.3 million contract with Cardiff City. The wreckage was found on Sunday following a privately funded underwater search, which began after 2 seat cushions were discovered on the French coast that likely belonged to the aircraft. The AAIB said it had now concluded it was the missing Piper Malibu aircraft, issuing an underwater image of the crashed plane with part of its registration number clearly visible. Cardiff City held a ceremony for Salah prior to its game against Arsenal last week, the team's first match since Salah went missing. An international group of public health experts Monday called on the World Health Organization to consider declaring Congo's Ebola outbreak an international public health emergency. The group of experts wrote in The Lancet that such a call would help galvanize high-level political, financial, and technical support to address the Ebola outbreak that started last May. The outbreak, declared just over 6 months ago in Congo's east, is that country's 10th and the world's second largest recorded. Instability, dense populations, political instability, and mass displacement have contributed to the spread of the disease. Experts said the epidemic is not under control and has a high risk of spread to the region, perhaps globally. Experts argue that the criteria for declaring an international emergency have been met, including public health impact, novelty, and scale and movement of people. The World Health Organization on Monday responded that the WHO and its partners in Congo and neighboring countries continue to closely monitor the situation for signs that an expert committee meeting would be needed. German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Monday offered a way to break the deadlock over the United Kingdom's exit from the European Union, calling for a creative compromise to allay concerns over the future of Irish border arrangements. The United Kingdom is due under British and European law to leave the EU in just 53 days, yet Prime Minister Theresa May wants last-minute changes to a divorce deal agreed to with the EU last November to win over lawmakers in the British Parliament. While Merkel said she did not want the so-called withdrawal agreement renegotiated, she added that difficult questions could be resolved with creativity, the strongest hint to date that the EU's most powerful leader could be prepared to compromise. Merkel's stance on Brexit is driven by an eagerness to preserve the integrity of the EU and its internal market, which are crucial to Germany's post-war identity and prosperity, while also keeping Britain close to the bloc even after it leaves. Keen to avoid the economic disruption a no-Brexit deal would bring to Germany's economy, which slowed sharply last year, Merkel also values Britain as a like-minded partner and wants to keep its security expertise close at hand. President Donald Trump said that he planned to keep U.S. forces in Iraq as he withdraws troops from other war zones because he wants to be able to monitor neighboring Iran. On CBS News' Face the Nation, Trump said, "I want to be able to watch Iran," calling Tehran's government a real problem. Trump added, "We have an unbelievable and expensive military base built in Iraq. It's perfectly situated." The president also said despite his plans to reduce the U.S. military presence in Afghanistan and withdraw from Syria, the U.S. could quickly come back if we have to. Iraqi President Barham Salih said Monday that Trump hadn't asked Iraq's permission to keep U.S. troops in Iraq to keep an eye on Iran. Trump also said that a U.S. military intervention in Venezuela was an option. On Monday, Spain, Britain, France, Portugal, Sweden, and other European nations recognized Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido as the country's interim president, joining the U.S. and most South American nations in withdrawing support from embattled President Nicolas Maduro, who started a second term last month despite allegations that he won re-election by fraud. European Union nations had given Maduro a deadline of Sunday to call new presidential elections. Maduro rejected the EU deadline, even though he proposed early parliamentary elections demanded by the opposition. The Pentagon announced Sunday that it is sending about 3,750 more troops to the U.S.-Mexico border as President Trump continues to call for stepping up security to turn back a surge of Central American migrants. Trump referred to the approach of a caravan of about 3,500 Central American migrants as an invasion ahead of last November's midterm elections, and he sent the first wave of soldiers there to back up border agents. With the latest deployment, the U.S. will have approximately 4,350 troops supporting border agents. The new deployment, approved by Acting Secretary of Defense Patrick Shanahan 3 weeks ago, will last 90 days. The soldiers will be conducting surveillance and placing concertina wire between border entry points. The New England Patriots won their second Super Bowl in 3 years on Sunday, beating the Los Angeles Rams 13-3. It was the Patriots' sixth National Football League championship since 2001, and only the second time they have won without star quarterback Tom Brady being named the game's most valuable player. This time, that honor went to wide receiver Julian Edelman, who caught 10 passes for 141 yards, including 2 quick receptions in the game's only touchdown drive. Edelman was the only offensive player to distinguish himself in a mostly defensive battle, the lowest scoring in Super Bowl history. "We grinded it out," said Brady, who at 41 is the oldest quarterback to win a Super Bowl. He said, "We were just chipping away." And that's your update for this Monday, February 4th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.